This is a story that happened to me when I was in my teens. After it happened, I typed up these events verbatim, only the names had been changed. As a youth, my father insisted that I play in a brass band, and so I ended up playing the euphonium. Every year, I would end up going on this god-awful band camp to play god-awful music that the family would end up politely listening to in the inevitable end-of-camp concert that we subjected them to. Between January 13th and 26th, 1980, I attended one of these camps for the Victorian State Youth Band Camp. During this camp, quite a few unusual events occurred. This camp was held at a Christian boarding school in Ballarat, Victoria, Australia, which is also a historical gold mining town. There were 2 large rooms for sleeping in, and one of them led to a landing in the stairway. When going down the steps that led to the showers, a then friend of mine, let's call him Sean, claimed that he got an uneasy feeling there and that he didn't like going down there at night. At the time, I dismissed this as just being in his imagination, so he dared me to go down there myself. I did, and I did feel a little uneasy, but considering I did it in the dark, I would naturally feel that way. There was nothing special about the staircase, just 2 flights of steps winding from the boys' dormitory down to the boys' shower block. As a rule, it was well lit, though the light bulbs kept on blowing, 5 times in total, and that's something I have also noticed occurring whenever there appears to be some sort of spiritual energy going on. That, or was just bad wiring. Hanging on one of the walls was this abstract painting on the first landing. It was like a red, angry face, and I didn't like it. It gave me the creeps. Personally, if I had to put what happened down to anything, I would have to say that this entity was connected to this painting. In my experience, such things are possible, and it would certainly not be the last time I'd see something like that. It wasn't very long though before we both felt a slight tingling in our mind every time we went through the double doors that led to the stairs. It was a prickling sensation, like walking through a field of static electricity. It was almost as though some force was pushing against you. This gradually got stronger over a matter of days, and before long several other people also noticed it, though whether this was the power of suggestion or not, I am not sure. Now, even if it was the power of suggestion at work, I know what I felt, and considering I was always under some kind of psychic attack back then, I may have been more sensitive to it. I couldn't speak for Sean though. I just accepted that he was feeling what I was feeling, and of course, everybody else joined in. It's a bit like your tongue. You don't feel it, even though it's always there. But if you think about it, then you notice it. And somehow, it doesn't seem to fit into your mouth correctly. So it's possible that people focusing on this feeling might have produced it. Who knows for sure. What probably didn't help was that I had shared a few of my own experiences, as I was wont to do in my youth. I didn't have many people I could talk to back then, and it was still all exciting and dramatic for me. So, by talking about possessions and attacks, I'm sure I fueled the imaginations of others. Now, whether we attracted something, or something was already there, or we made the entire thing up, I am not sure. But what followed was certainly not normal. And interestingly enough, as I told my story, these black beetles filled the dormitory and fell around my bed. Strangely enough though, none of them fell around the staircase or the toilet area, which was only meters away. So everybody got excited, and someone suggested that we should have a seance. In the dorm there was this memorial that was dedicated to someone called Robert Rice, and it was suspected that he may be connected to the stairway. I don't believe there was any connection, and I never found out who he was anyway. He could have been a founder, or maybe even a student who died there. We didn't have a Ouija board, so we created our own out of paper and used a plastic cup to spell out the letters. And just before the sayings occurred, the stairway light blew out for the first time. 5 people sat in a circle around the board and put a finger on the cup. They claimed they were just letting them hover over the cup, but I had my doubts about that, as one of them was a troublemaker, and he was there for a lark. His name was Norman. The first question they asked was, "Are you Robert Rice?" The cup appeared to jump slightly and moved towards the yes. But before they could continue, something happened. That tingling sensation, which I had mentioned before, suddenly manifested itself very strongly, and I felt it all over my entire body. Then Norman suddenly yelled, "Bullshit!" and scrambled the letters off the Ouija board and fled up the stairs. Suddenly, everybody else was screaming and bolting up the stairs, leaving me, Sean, and another teen called Terry behind. We exchanged notes and found we had all felt the same tingling sensation. I don't recall the general reaction afterwards, but people seemed to just carry on with what they were doing, as though nothing had happened. However, the experience was real enough for one of the boys, who was named David, to get this very large crucifix and place it at the bottom of the stairs. I was not aware he did this, but when I went through the doors, the tingling had gone, and the stairway felt clear. As I went downstairs, I saw the cross. I went back up and I called Sean and asked him to come and see what he could feel. When he joined me, he asked how come there was nothing there, and then I showed him the crucifix. Unfortunately, the cross didn't last very long because one of the brothers who lived on the campus grounds found the cross and removed it. Not only that, but they then complained to our band masters, who were in turn skeptical and did not believe it was real. But I wasn't aware of when it was removed, so when I went to the showers again, I felt that energy, and I was puzzled as to why until I saw that the cross was gone. And what was more, the energy felt angry, very angry. In fact, it was probably at its strongest. Then abruptly, for no apparent reason, it disappeared and was gone the next morning. That morning, Sean and I were on the staircase, foolishly messing around with things that we had no clue about. I looked at the painting of the face and decided I really didn't like it at all. I went and turned it over. I'm not sure why, but I thought it might make a difference. However, Sean decided that it needed to be turned around the correct way. I asked him why he had done this. Did he really like the painting that much? He said no, it just needed to be turned up the right way. He had to put it like that. I once again went to turn it over, but he held me back, and I decided it was not worth the bother, so I left it. In hindsight, I should have just removed it when he wasn't looking. Between band practices, Sean became more and more drawn to the stairs. He would ask me to come along, and at one point I said I wasn't going to do that anymore. I wasn't sure what was really going on, but part of me had grown tired of it and was now saying enough. But Sean said he felt compelled and still went there. He could not resist the urge, and even though I had said enough, I still felt a draw to it too. I'm not sure if it was curiosity or something more, but at one point, during a break, I felt a very strong urge come over me to go to the staircase. Now, admittedly, I didn't resist very hard, So I got up from the bed and slowly, almost like I was in a trance-like state, made my way towards the door. I was about to go through then, when someone walked in from the other side and broke the spell I seemed to be under. I turned away and went back to my bed. 5 minutes later, Sean walked in and asked if I wanted to go down the stairs with him. I was still amenable to the idea, and so I agreed. He went down to the first landing and stopped, and suddenly I felt very uneasy and decided to leave. Sean said, "No, stay here." "You can," I replied, "but I'm going." And so I did. As I walked back out, I heard a voice in my thoughts saying, "Now I've got rid of you, now for Sean." Later on, he told me that at that moment, he suddenly felt weak in the legs and almost passed out. When he came through the door, he did not look good. His face was white and drawn, and that, I believe, was the moment when things really took on a more sinister turn with him. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, here are some others you might find interesting. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear about them. Leave a comment and maybe even a like.
I rise like a phoenix, born from the